Maggie, if we could start with roll call and determination of quorum, please. Thank you, Maggie. This is a time to adopt today's agenda. Unless there's any items that a seated committee member would like to add, modify, or remove, I'll entertain a motion to adopt today's agenda.
Move to adopt.
I've got a motion by Laurenti to adopt, second by Nordstrom. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda has been adopted as presented today. Now's the time for general public comment. This is a time for anyone in the audience to address the seated committee members today on any item that is currently not on today's agenda. I do not have any speaker request forms for general public comment. Am I missing anyone? Seeing none, we're going to go on to public comment for consent items on today's agenda. Consent items on today's agenda are items 1 through 7. I do not have any speaker request forms for general public comment. Am I missing anyone? Seeing none, public comment is now closed. At this time, I'll entertain a motion from the seated committee members for any removal of items on the consent calendar 1 through 7 for separate consideration. Chair would like to recognize Alderman Laurenti.
Number 2, Chair, if you can, please.
Okay, item number 2. Are there any other items? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adopt or approve today's consent items 1 through 7, except item number 2.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Nordstrom to approve consent items 1 through 7, except item number 2. Second by Laurenti. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent items 1 through 7, except item number 2, have been approved. Item number 2 is to authorize the mayor and finance officer to sign 2 agreements with Waters and Company for executive search services for the positions of Director of Planning and Development Services and the Director of Public Works. Alderman Laurenti, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. And if again, I'd like to ask Mr. Barbier a question on this item, please.
Yes, you may.
Mr. Barbier, can you talk to me about precedents here? Have we used headhunters before for these types of searches for directors to fill these positions? If you could answer that for me.
Alderman Laurenti, since I've been here, we haven't used a professional service firm like this for a department head position, but we have for a traffic engineer because we had a very difficult time filling that traffic engineer job. It took a considerable amount of time, and we needed to cast a wider, more national net to find a qualified traffic engineer. We're trying to do the same thing with these 2 positions.
But we haven't had a problem finding qualified people for these types of positions previously, I assume, since we've never done it before for these positions.
Well, actually, that's part of the reason that we're doing it, because the last time we filled these 2 exact positions, we did find what we thought were well-qualified people eventually, but we had a very, very shallow pool.
How long do we have an idea of how long it took previously? When you talk about the amount of time it took, do you have just a ballpark grasp of how long it took us?
Well, it generally probably takes 90 days or so.
And I'm talking about how it took us longer than anticipated, which is why we're doing what we're doing.
Oh, the traffic
today.
Engineer position.
Well, not necessarily traffic engineer, but for directors' positions. Do we typically take longer than we want to fill those positions?
Well, I don't know if longer than we want to, but the process does take a while because by the time, it's generally are candidates from out of town that have to travel. They obviously have to, if somebody is selected, they have to give longer notice generally to their current employer. So it takes a while to get a director in place.
So, in your opinion, I'm asking for your opinion now on this particular item. What do you believe the city, the taxpayers, stand to benefit by spending this $22,000 that we haven't typically done to fill these types of positions?
Well, I think hopefully, our goal is to get a well-qualified position. Also, this firm will not only, they're not only finding candidates for us, they're marketing Rapid City to potential candidates. So some of the materials that they'll send out to potential candidates will be about Rapid City, kind of sell us to them. hopefully we can find somebody that wants to live here and wants to stay here for a significant amount of time and isn't just a short-term fix.
Okay, thank you.
Chair would like to recognize Alderwoman Drew.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also have some questions for Mr. Barbier. So you really feel that there's no chance of hiring from within for these positions?
Well, I wouldn't say no chance. It's possible that we could hire somebody local, but I think we would have a much deeper and more qualified pool to choose from, and these are very important positions for the City of Rapid City if we would go ahead and do the national search.
And I think I'd like to reiterate that this money is already in the budget because we have not paid for these positions for several months, and so the money is there.
Right. There's no additional budget needed.
And do we have references for the group that we're working with? Do we know that they've done their job before, and the cities they've worked with or municipalities are satisfied with their work? And
yeah, 3 firms were vetted by our human resources manager, Nancy Hammock. Nancy has a lot of recruiting experience. She was in a recruiting position for a previous employer. She was aware of the work of this firm. They specialize in public sector employees, and they're a large national firm with an excellent reputation.
well, I'm in favor of this, and I'm going to support this measure. But I also would like to see some diversity in these positions, whether it be women or people of varying ethnicities. I really think that that's an important thing for our city to actually show some diversity in our leadership. So, well done. I will support this.
Chair would like to recognize Alderman Nordstrom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, if I may, to make the motion to approve this item. Thank
Got
you.
a motion by Nordstrom to approve item number 2, a second by Alderwoman Drew. Alderman Nordstrom, you still have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple of questions for Mr. Barbier.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Barbier, can you give us a little bit of a background on the qualified applicants that applied for these 2 positions before? If I remember my history on these 2 positions, we had some good qualified candidates at the top, but the cream of the crop that we got to choose from was very limited. Whereas the rest of the candidates that applied for this position, there was a few, but not very many. But if I remember it correct, they did not meet or come up to the standard of that we were looking for.
Well, you're correct, and I don't want to say anything negative about anybody in a public meeting, but we did have a fairly shallow pool of people that actually were qualified for the position. Luckily, we did find 2 people that did a nice job in those roles, I think, but we did not have a deep pool to choose from. Also, one more thing I'd like to reiterate: if this professional service firm that we're hiring, Waters and Company, this also comes with a guarantee that if the person that they find for us that we choose to hire doesn't stay, I believe it's longer. If they leave in the first 2 years, I believe it's 2 years, then they'll go through the same search process for us again for free.
Thank you. And the other factor, I don't need you to explain everything, but the other appreciation that I have is the different phases that this group is, the Waters group is going to do for us. They are going to do essentially all the work for us. So you don't have to, your staff doesn't have to do all the search backgrounds, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. They will do a considerable amount of work for us that will save my staff, but ultimately, the final interviews and choice of the candidate will be our own.
Thank you. And the reason why I'm supporting it is that this, again, will cast a wider net. We'll get nothing disparaging towards the candidates that have applied in the past. That's not my intent, but what this will do is cast a wider net and bring in people from throughout the United States rather than just a regional effect. So thank you.
Chair would like to recognize Alderman Laurenti.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to chime back in and explain my no vote on this, but it's really just to keep it off of consent. I know there are other council people who have questions on this particular item. It sounds like it will pass today, but this will keep it off of consent to make sure that it gets talked about Monday night. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further lights, just a couple clarifying questions. Mr. Barbier, you said that in your time here with the city, how long is that you've been here and the headhunter has only been used once?
Almost 6 years.
6 years. So within 6 years, a headhunter has only been used once to fulfill the traffic engineer position.
That's my recollection, yes.
Okay, thank you. And then you also did indicate that this one of the benefactors of this service is that if a candidate, when the mayor and his committee or the mayor selects from this pool that is presented, if the person for either one of these positions does not stay a minimum amount of time, they will go back out and perform the exact same service at no additional cost to the city.
Exactly.
Thank you. And also with that said, okay, I had one other one here. Let's see if I can remember what it was before Monday night. Sure. The chair would like to recognize Alderman Nordstrom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hopefully I'll give you an opportunity to collect your thoughts. Mr. Barbier, in your 6-year tenure here, can you advise us about the length of term, specifically these two positions, these people have been in this position? Been longer than 4 years, if I remember correctly.
It was only a few years. I can't tell you that exact information, but I know both of these positions have come and gone since I've been here. So they were each of the last two directors where they were in these positions were only here a few years, and then had left. And so that's part of the service that we're looking for. We're looking to for Waters to advertise us, to sell us, and find somebody that really wants to live in Rapid City, and hopefully stays longer than a few years.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll yield.
And thank you, Alderman Nordstrom. I did recall the third question, clarifying question. So it was also brought up here that there were, was it the possibility that there were no internal candidates from within, and you had indicated no. What this allows us to do is to actually qualify any internal or current employees for this position against the criteria and qualifications of anybody else that is out there nationwide. So if we do hire within, my question to you is, the city and the residents of Rapid City can be really self-assured that we've got the best qualified candidate, even if we do hire from within.
I would say that's very, very much true. It's very possible we could find somebody local, but this will give us a deep pool of outstanding candidates, hopefully, and we can truly pick the best person.
Thank you. So just wanted to clarify that it doesn't preempt any of our internal employees at the city to go ahead and throw their hat in this ring and go through the qualification process as well.
Absolutely. And we don't know, of course, until we post a position, we don't know who plans on applying or doesn't.
All right. Thank you. Seeing no further lights, we do have a motion to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We've got the recommendation going to City Council Monday night, 4 yes, 1 no. That is the consent calendar. Now's the time for public comment for the non-consent items. Non-consent items today are items 8 through 11. I currently have no speaker request forms for public comment for the non-consent items. Am I missing anyone? Seeing none? Public comment on non-consent items is closed. We're going to go ahead and move on to non-consent items. The first item on the non-consent calendar is item number 8. Item number 8 is in the name of Dorothy Colomb, I believe is how you pronounce it. The appeal of an abatement for mowing and yard cleanup at 3536 Buena Villa Drive. And this afternoon, I believe we have Teresa. And if you and if your guest would also like to join the podium, and go ahead and state your name and your affiliation to the city, and the committee is all ears to hear your comments on item number 8.
Teresa Colomb. I don't remember what the rest of the...
Your affiliation, do you live within the city, or you're just representing this property, or?
Yes, I live in the city. I live at that address.
All right.
Shayna Colomb. I'm a resident, not at that property. Prior resident.
Prior resident of the property?
As a minor, yes.
All right. Thank you. And the committee is all ears.
We filed an appeal. We submitted paperwork showing pictures and that have been time stamped. They said that they came in and they cleaned up garbage and they mowed the lawn and they trimmed hedges. But if you look at the pictures, you'll see that their idea of trimming hedges was, we showed pictures that they were just branches that had been broken off. They clearly didn't mow. You can see leaves that if they had mowed the lawn, they would have been torn up. You could visibly see garbage in the lawn, and they're charging $400 for basically doing nothing.
Teresa, do you have any other comments
think
before
she
we go to
said
the
it all.
committee members?
I think she said it all.
All right. At this time, ladies, if you would hold, the seated committee members will discuss this in this public hearing, and we may have further questions for you. All right, thank you. I'll entertain any questions from any seated committee members. Move to deny. I do have a motion to deny by Alderman Laurenti. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Alderman Nordstrom. Are there any other further comments? Chair would like to recognize Alderman Nordstrom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I feel for you folks, I really do, but I don't know that we have anything within our purview that can allow your appeal, because it did happen, 2 or 3 years ago when this took place?
But when I went to pay my property taxes, they just told me
Just this year, they told me.
April 29th. Yeah, I think I went down April 29th, the last business day, and they said I had to come to the city finances because there was more taxes I had to pay, and when I got over here, I found out about this.
Thank you. Mr. Barbieri, do you have anything else to add to this?
No, not really. The pictures of the property before we did the work were attached to the item. This was the work was actually done in October I believe it was October of 2014 was when we actually did the cleanup and the mowing. A bill would have been sent from the finance office to the property. Again, they're saying that they didn't know about it or receive it, or I have no way. We didn't get it back.
Sure.
If we get something like that back in the mail, we do keep track of that. We didn't get this back, but whether or not they got it for sure, I can't tell you. The work that the contractor did was $240. We had the $42 admin fee from code enforcement, what gets you to $282, and the $100 late fee is what puts it up to $382 total.
Thank you. And again, ladies, I really have a lot of empathy for you, but right now I don't see any way to get around this unless some other folks have got some other ideas. Thank you.
I was curious because you said that there was no way to prove that we did or did not receive this. She has not had a key to her mailbox in the past 3 years, and I think the post office should have a record of this because we have gone in and talked to them about it. So she has not received mail at this address because she cannot get into her mailbox. So she would not have received the bill.
And thank you, and I appreciate the comment, but again, failure to receive, if the city doesn't get the notification back, the city's responsibility is to send notification to the address of record. Whether it actually gets delivered, the address that the city has based on the county's assessment roll is the ones they use. We've had a lot of people, and like Alderman Nordstrom said, I sympathize with your situation, especially if you just found out about it when you went to go pay your taxes and stuff, because this does get rolled over to the assessment roll on the property taxes. But the city has got very definite and specific ways that we notify, and it's up to property owners to make sure that they have a good address on file so that they can receive any type of notification from any utility companies, any city governmental agencies, or anything else. So I appreciate, and I do appreciate you letting us know that you had no way of getting the mail out of the mailbox, but that still falls back, unfortunately, on your responsibility, not the city's responsibility. So.
But if the mail was delivered and nobody picked it up, wouldn't whatever was in that mailbox be sent back to sender?
I don't know. That's a post office thing. So again, the city has no obligation to check with the post office to make sure things are being delivered or not. The city can only mail out notifications. If the city receives a notification back, if they can check with the county and see if there's an alternate address, they usually do that. But generally, the city's obligation is whatever the current address is for the property as listed on the county records, that's the address that the city uses.
So I could go ask my neighbors if they received the letter? Because when I did have a key to that post office box, there was mail that wasn't mine, it was my neighbor's.
Well, and again, that's a postal service issue, so at this point, this assessment went through the notification process. It is a valid assessment. Notification was given. The city has records of that they did the mailings, they did the property notification, and the city council approved any erroneous or assessments going on to that tax roll. So it's gone through the process. So as Alderman Nordstrom said, and I echo his sentiment, I sympathize with you, but there's really not a lot that we can do, especially with assessments that are so old at this time. So this issue is going to be voted on today, ladies. It's going to be a recommendation from this committee that's going to go to the city council meeting Monday night. If you would like to come back Monday night and address the full council and restate your case and stuff. Today we were just trying to give you enough information to also let you know the city side of it. So if you're appealing the city's action, there's not a whole lot that can be done at this time on this issue. But this is a recommending body. I'm getting ready to take the vote, and then this issue will be closed, and we'll be moving on to the next items. But City Council is Monday night, starts at 6:30, and this issue will be on Monday night's City Council meeting. All right?
What time Monday night?
6:30 is when the meeting starts.
Okay.
Thank you. I do have a motion to deny. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Recommendation goes to City Council of denial. Item number 9 is the introduction and first reading of an ordinance number 6114 regarding supplemental appropriation number 2 for 2016. We do not have a representative from the City Finance Office, but I'll entertain either a motion to approve, deny, or send to council without recommendation.
Move to approve.
Got a motion by Nordstrom to approve?
Yep.
I've got a second by Lewis. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed? 1. Motion carries 4-1. The no vote is by Alderman Laurenti. Item number 10 is the CIP. This is to approve the carry forward amount from the fiscal year 2015 to the current 2016 CIP budget. I've got a motion by Drew to approve, second by Laurenti. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 11 is the request to cost share the remodel expenses for county detox expansion.
Move to approve. Second.
I've got a motion by Lewis to approve, a second by Nordstrom. And seeing no speaker lights, as the chair, Alderman Nordstrom, would you please just give a brief explanation of what this is, that it came from CIP?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I've got to give you the credit for coming up with the idea how to do this. The short version is that we're going to take it out, this funding, it will be coming out of the undesignated cash. I was going to say contingency, but I knew that wasn't correct. The undesignated cash part of the CIP. So be spread out over 3 years. And the other idea that you came up with, Madam Chair, was that allowing the county to come up with the difference, the $50,000 additional makeups, and perhaps coming from whatever funding source that they have. And so we will get some assistance from the county as well for helping out on this project. But accolades to you for coming up with this concept. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Nordstrom. So, Chief Jegris, can you please explain the actual remodeling and why the county came to the city for this? Because it kind of falls from what we understood the CIP committee, that it could be interpreted that it is part of our agreement with the county, but it was kind of loosely fit in there.
Sure. Well, for at least a couple of decades, we've collaboratively funded the operation of the Pennington County Alcohol and Drug Program, and that is ran by the Sheriff's Office. So Sheriff Tome and I brought the request forward. The county has acquired the former NAU administration building right across the street from the public safety building and intends to relocate a couple of their services to that location, one being the detox facility, which we are the primary benefactor of in that our department brings the supermajority of the clientele that are housed there. So the current location on La Crosse Street is at maximum capacity. I can tell you that just from listening to my radio yesterday, we had officers requesting to take intoxicated individuals to detox, and detox was full. That puts us as a community in a really bad place. And so I'm thankful that the sheriff is looking to expand services so that we can better provide services to this high-risk portion of our community.
Thank you, Chief. So, just for clarification, when this remodeling, which I think was talked about at CIP, is going to take 2 to 3 years to complete, is the La Crosse building or station going to be shut down, or is this an expansion so that Total Detox will include the La Crosse and this new location?
The La Crosse Street will not be a detox facility anymore, and the estimated timeline was 18 months, and that was a few months back. So I think we are hopeful that it would be operational by summer of 2017.
Thank you, Chief, for that update. And then also, if I remember correctly, even though the La Crosse building is going to be not used for detox anymore, this remodeling is actually an increase in the number or the capacity?
It is. It will allow for expansion of services, more clients as needed, and just more opportunities for the Sheriff's Office to meet the demands.
Thank you, Chief. Chair would like to recognize Alderman Laurenti.
Thank you, Chair. And this question either can be for the Chief or maybe some of the committee members because you sit on that other committee. My question is, what is the percentage in the cost share with the county on the detox center? Is it 50-50? Where are we at with that?
Chief, do you remember from that conversation?
Yes, and there is a spreadsheet attached that includes a breakdown, but essentially what it is, for the detox portion of the funding, it is 50-50 cost share. And Alderwoman Scott made the motion to fund it at $900,000 even though $950,000 was requested, being that the committee felt that it was appropriate to not fund the contingency that is built in, and I think that was a wise idea, and that was well received by the sheriff and the county officials.
So my question then is the county's share matching ours, or are we exceeding the 50% on this particular?
We are actually coming in less than the 50% anticipated because, and just to clarify, Alderman Laurenti, the discussion did include, in the full amount that was brought to us was the full contract or bid amount, but within that, all the line items that were in there, it did contain a contingency line item, and that's what the discussion at the CIP committee said. Why would the city obligate themselves to a contingency? I just think it makes the county sharpen their pencil and make sure that they're getting their money's worth when they're working that contract if they know that they don't have a slush fund to kind of pay off everything.
I think that's where my concern is that this could be a place where expenses could be who knows what. So that would be my concern. So,
and with that said, not to imply that the county does not take exceptional care in watching their cost when they do bid things out, but as public officials, we just want to make sure that all the employees are really on top of watching what they're bidding out and making sure that the contract workers are doing what they're obligated to do without trying to come back for, as we often see, addendums for, this minus this plus that. So the other discussion also included that it was a really good project. It was going to expand the capacity in order to provide these services and as well as bring everything under one roof to also provide services, because this doesn't take up that whole building.
Right, which is what I definitely support that. We need that. I know we need that room. So we've seen statistics on the detox, the current facility. So I do support that. I just wanted to make sure that the city's funds were being used responsibly, that we're still cost sharing in the proper way along with the agreement with the county, and that that's still in place. So thank you.
And as Chief Jegaris indicated and Alderman Nordstrom indicated, the county sheriff was there as well, Sheriff Tom, and they were all, I mean, the discussion was very well vetted out, and there was understanding on both sides. Any further discussion? I believe I have a motion on the floor to approve, Maggie. Is that correct? Yes, I do. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Seeing no further business for today, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Got a motion by Laurenti to adjourn, second by Drew. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.